here.
We are all here. First time in weeks. How about that?
Yeah.
That's nice. Hey, listen, it's a big morning here in the Charlotte area because happening at 10:30 this morning, Panthers owner David Tepper expected to speak for the first time since firing head coach Frank Reich. Of course, the drama playing out yesterday, coming off the team's 10th loss of the season.
Yeah, Tepper looking to reset with new interim coach Chris Tabor. He is now the 6th coach to lead the team since Tepper bought the Panthers back in 2018. Reich leaves the team with one of the shortest head coaching tenures in the league. Hard to believe. Hard to believe.
So Wake Up Charlotte's Richard Devane is live for us this morning outside the stadium. And Richard, Reich is sort of the big name we all know, but this is part of a massive coaching overhaul there at the organization.
Yeah, they also fired the quarterbacks coach as well as the running backs coach yesterday in what was a clean move. And they had the interim coach, Tabor, as you said, who is the special teams coach. Yesterday, Tepper met with Frank Reich here at Panther Stadium where they have their offices. Of course, they don't have offices in Rock Hill. That's another story, another time that Tepper decided to change his mind. Anyway, he brought Frank Reich in on that news he gave to him. It's news that really didn't surprise a lot of folks because people have been suspecting something like this to happen for a while now. But it's kind of dubious the fact that Frank Reich now, who has some other historical records with both professional and college marks, has another dubious distinction, or another distinction that is somewhat dubious, I should say. This time he becomes the first coach to be fired 2 years in a row in the middle of a season. And he was the third shortest tenure of a coach ever for a team. So all of that happening with him after the news of him being let go yesterday right here at Bank of America Stadium. Of course, they've already named the special teams coach Tabor to take over for the team that has been had a lot of bad marks, like at the bottom in all offensive categories, passing, rushing. Bryce Young has not developed, and that's one of the things that a lot of people talked about when Reich took over, that he was going to be kind of like somebody who could work with a young quarterback, who could tutor a young quarterback. But as our own Eugene Robinson was telling us yesterday, the Panthers have a lot of things that hurt or hindered Young's progress. For instance, they didn't have much of an offensive line. Sorry if you're an offensive lineman out there listening, we needed more from you. They didn't have a lot of skill position players. When they made the trade with Chicago to get that #1 pick that they used on Young, they gave away the best receiver that the Panthers had at the time in DJ Moore, who actually had a good game last night on Monday Night Football when the Chicago team that he now plays for beat Minnesota. We want to say that there's a lot of work to do here. I was listening to some experts recently who said that right now there expects to be some 5 or more head coaching positions open, and they say the Panthers is probably the least attractive. Let that sink in for a second. Also, the fact that we talked about Tepper, who was a minority owner in Pittsburgh. They haven't had 6 head coaches. Let's say this. In 50 years, they've had 3 head coaches. Tepper, in just his few years of ownership, you just said it, 6. There's just some glaring things like that. I mean, Frank Reich started here, our first quarterback here, and unfortunately, he didn't last the whole season.
Hey, Richard, just real quickly, the offensive line just called in the newsroom, and they wanted to talk to you. So we're going to transfer them to you. So.
Well, no, that's okay, because Larry knows I'm going to try to get Pierre Simmons, our photographer, one of our photojournalists, to do the line. Yeah, he'll be able to handle it. Between me and Pete, we can open some holes.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Wow. And Larry, you could be the head coach, right?
That's right.
Coach Spring.
Well, for that kind of money, yeah. And if they don't like you, you still get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you'd still be getting a pretty penny.
I mean,
David Tepper, available.
All right.
It'll be
He's still paying Matt Rhule. He's now playing Frank Reich. Yeah, he's paying a lot of people.
He's paying a lot of people, and he has a lot of money, but goodness.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll take it for half the money.
I mean, nobody likes to be fired, but I mean, you don't need to feel too bad for Mr. Reich. He's walking away with lots of money.
I think we all had this fantasy, though, it was like the first quarterback and then now the coach, and it was
a great story.
We were gonna ride off into the sunset, and now it's like rinse, repeat of a head coach.
Sunset week 2, the way it seemed.
Yeah, we're already getting some responses from some folks.
John Kelly chiming in saying there is no consistency within the organization, thus the results on the field are not a surprise. Joy saying they need a coach with a winning record. Melissa saying, can we fire Tepper and please bring Richard in out of the cold? This story ain't worth him freezing.
That's right.
Exactly.
Now that hat keeps them warm.
Yeah.
So keep chiming in. In the meantime, Kia is here with some of the things that you're saying in addition to all that.
Yes. So obviously this broke yesterday. So a lot of people were talking about it online, and it turned into a blame game very quickly. So we've got some of the hundreds. It was about 800 responses.
Ooh, 800?
Yeah.
Wow.
800
on Facebook?
On Facebook, chiming in, just kind of talking about who's truly responsible. Now it seems like, and we asked the question this morning too, what needs to be done for the Panthers kind of to turn their season around? And it's an overwhelming Tepper problem. I mean, people are consistently, whether it's on air or online, saying that the brunt of the responsibility is on the owner. Now, we have our 2 football experts here that can kind of weigh in on that.
Ben and Sarah, once again.
Ben and Sarah.
All right.
So what do you think?
The only other factors that were really mentioned, online, were really just the offensive line again, and then wondering if, not necessarily if Bryce Young was the wrong pick, but then if he just needs more time.
Yeah.
So I think it's a mix.
It's hard to put it on one person's shoulders.
It is.
But unfortunately, that's what happens because the quarterback is the number one player on the team. Yeah. I mean, here the reality is this: they went with him. They were sold on Bryce Young, and that was the foundation for why he's still there. We could be winning games. We probably have one of the best backup quarterbacks in the NFL.
Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton is a fantastic quarterback, and the game that we won, he was playing. Yep. So I think they were sold on Bryce Young. They went with that. That was the plan, and it's going to be the plan. I don't think they're going to pull him unless he's injured. No. And so that sets us up not to have a great season. I don't care who the coach is, who they bring in. Now, he could come in, reevaluate everything, get the team fired up, and we could do much better. But it's a rebuilding operation. It's going to take another year. It's going to take several years.
That's the thing, because they can't interview anybody until January. Because
22nd, right?
Because of the league rules.
And it takes more than a coach. We have to have draft picks. We don't have the draft picks. Free agency, we can get a lot of good players in free agency, things like that. But it's going to take several years. If you look at the historical teams that were always in the cellar, Detroit Lions, it took them years to get back up. Jacksonville Jaguars, years to come back up again. So we're kind of stuck in that quagmire.
And speaking of the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence did not have a historic starting season. Joe Burrow, even though he's had injury problems, actually had a horrible offensive line, and he got injured and lost the time for the rest of the season because of it. And it's you're kind of comparing, I think, apples to staplers here as far as C.J. Stroud to staplers, because they're two different things. Because
I haven't heard that one before.
I love it.
Nobody has.
I like it.
Nobody has.
I like it.
Because C.J. Stroud, if you look at the operation he's in, he has some electric young receivers. Tank Dell is taking the league by storm. You have Nico Collins. That offensive line is very healthy and very powerful.
That's it right there. It starts the offensive line, and he has no. I mean, we keep criticizing these guys. You hate to do it, but it's the fact. It doesn't have the beef up front, and he's a little guy.
I was going to say, because they were beating.
And we talked about that back when they were choosing between him and C.J. Stroud and a few of the other ones, that he was, by all other standards, a smaller guy.
We think back to the rookie year of Cam Newton. A whole different situation. A big guy, strong guy. He could scramble. He could get out. Unfortunately, this guy is stuck in the backfield, can't get out, and that's where the team is, stuck in the backfield.
And when this broke yesterday, we were talking to Nick Carboni, and he was saying, but they chose him, and so they're going to do everything they can to make this work for the next 4 years because he's on this 4-year contract.
Now, question for y'all, though. I mean, because they have experience, Andy Dalton, do you think they could speed up this process by having him sit, even if it's just for 1 year, so that he can watch?
It's too late to do that. He should have done that. That should have been the plan. Sorry, that should have been the plan from the very beginning. Let him be on the sidelines. Andy Dalton comes out, starts, and he could, come in occasionally. That's how you do it. He was not ready. And here we are analyzing this guy like,
No, well,
it's hard to be the man in the arena, you know what I mean?
And I think it's confidence, too. If you ever played sports or anything you've done, if you don't have the confidence, it is really tough to achieve. And think about the amount of times that he's trying to do his best, but he has no time. If you have no time to look down the field.
Not a bit of time.
Yeah,
I was about to say he has no tools.
Yeah, there's no tools. So, and there's a lot of quarterbacks that are great that did not have a great starting season. So the thing is, we still have other draft picks. Yes, the number one that is going to be very valuable is gone, but you can get a lot of good pieces. It's just about not missing from here.
And through free agency, we can pick up. So we have to look forward to next year.
Right.
That's unfortunate. We got a long week with 6 more games to go, and some very tough teams.
But that's why I think the rest of the season now is if you can maybe a change of the guard, get a couple of wins that necessarily don't mean anything, but it means a lot to Bryce Young. If he can kind of get some confidence to end the season, carry that momentum into next year. All right, baby.
A little bit of momentum would help.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, tune in this morning, 10:30. We'll be hearing from Mr. Tepper himself about his decision and what that means for the Panthers going forward. You can watch it on WCNC Charlotte and on WCNC Plus.